In January 897, the Catholic Church dug up a dead pope, dressed his corpse in robes, and put it on trial. History's courts have tried corpses, pigs, rats, even Satan himself, and the most famous case of all, you remember wrong. The dead man was Pope Formosus, 9 months in his grave. His accuser was the living pope, Stephen VI. Stephen had the corpse propped on a throne in the Lateran Basilica, in full papal vestments, before the assembled bishops of Rome. A young deacon stood beside the body, appointed to answer the charges in the dead man's name. The trial began. The charges? Perjury, coveting the papacy, and ruling more than one diocese at once. Crimes carrying no meaning for a corpse. The real crime was politics. Formosus had crowned the wrong emperor, and the family he betrayed now stood behind Stephen's throne. The corpse was found guilty. Every act of his papacy was annulled. The 3 fingers he had blessed with were cut off. The body was dumped into the Tiber River. Rome erupted. Within months, Stephen was deposed, imprisoned, and strangled in his cell. A later pope banned trials of the dead forever. But Europe's courts were only getting started. Their next defendants were not even human. Falaise, France, January 1386. A pig attacked a 3-month-old baby in its crib. The child died. The pig was arrested. It received a real trial, with a judge and formal procedure, the same court that tried human murderers. The pig was found guilty and sentenced to be maimed and hanged. For the execution, it was dressed in a waistcoat and gloves. A church fresco in Falaise commemorated the hanging for over 400 years. This was not a joke to anyone involved. From the 13th to the 18th century, European courts tried pigs, dogs, rats, grasshoppers, and snails for crimes against people and property. In the early 1500s, the rats of Autun were summoned to court for destroying the barley crop. They were assigned a defense lawyer. His name was Bartholomew Chassanet, and his defense of those rats made him one of the most famous jurists in France. When the rats ignored their summons, Chassanet argued they were afraid to appear because the streets were full of cats. He demanded the townsfolk lock up their cats so his clients could travel safely. The court granted the delay. It worked. Remember that logic? A fair hearing for even the lowest defendant. 5 centuries later, an American sued the lowest defendant of all. In 1971, a Pennsylvania prisoner named Gerald Mayo filed a federal lawsuit against Satan and his staff. Mayo claimed Satan had placed deliberate obstacles in his path, caused him misery, and engineered his downfall, a violation of his civil rights. The United States District Court did not laugh the case away. It issued a formal written opinion, still cited today. The court reasoned that Satan might be a foreign prince, and foreign princes have no standing in an American court. But the killing blow was procedural. Mayo could not tell the court how to serve legal papers on the devil. No address, no agent, no way to deliver a summons to hell. The case was dismissed in November 1971. The dismissal means something strange. No American court has ever ruled that Satan does not exist, only that he cannot be reached. Courts answer absurd questions with straight faces because procedure is the point. The machine must work the same for everyone. And sometimes that straight-faced machine produces official rulings that read like fantasy novels, binding, citable, and utterly real. Because if you cannot sue the devil in America, a New York court found something you can do instead. Buy a haunted house. Jeffrey Stambovsky bought a Victorian house in Nyack, New York, and then learned what the whole town already knew. The seller, Helen Ackley, had publicly advertised her house as haunted for years. The stories even ran in a national magazine. Stambovsky, from out of town, knew none of it. When he found out, he wanted out of the deal. Ackley refused. So he sued to cancel the sale. The first court threw the case out. Buyer beware, said New York law. Then the appeals court did something no American court had done before. It declared the house legally haunted. The logic? Ackley had created the haunting's reputation herself, so she could not deny it when it hurt the sale. And no home inspection, however careful, can detect a ghost. A buyer cannot discover what only the seller's stories put there. Stambovsky won the right to walk away, and the ruling that a house can be haunted as a matter of law entered the casebooks. Law students study the case to this day. Ghost stories, the courts confirmed, can carry real money and real legal consequences, which brings us to the case everyone knows. The coffee, the grandmother, the millions. Everything you remember about it is wrong. In February 1992, Stella Liebeck, 79 years old, bought a cup of coffee at a McDonald's in Albuquerque. She was not driving. The car was parked. She held the cup between her knees and removed the lid to add cream. The coffee spilled into her lap and caused third-degree burns across 6% of her body. She spent 8 days hospitalized. She needed skin grafts. Her family asked McDonald's for $20,000, her medical bills. McDonald's offered $800. Only then did she sue. And in court, a very different story emerged, one the late-night jokes never mentioned. McDonald's served its coffee at up to 190 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to cause third-degree burns in about 3 seconds. The company knew more than 700 people, including children, had already been burned. Nothing changed. The jury found McDonald's 80% responsible for the injury, and it awarded $2.7 million in punitive damages. The judge cut that award to under $500,000, and the parties settled privately. Stella Liebeck never got rich. The frivolous lawsuit punchline was a myth. The real thing arrived a decade later, and it was filed by a judge. In 2005, Roy Pearson, an administrative law judge in Washington, took a pair of gray pants to his local dry cleaner. The cleaners, run by the Chung family, handed back pants Pearson insisted were not his. He demanded $1,000. When the Chungs refused, the judge sued them for $67 million, later trimmed to a modest $54 million. His theory, the shop's satisfaction guaranteed sign, was a binding promise, and his dissatisfaction was worth millions per violation. In 2007, the court ruled that no reasonable customer could read a window sign as an unlimited promise. Pearson received nothing and was ordered to pay about $1,000 in court costs. Then he lost his judgeship. The Chungs won, but the 2-year fight forced them to close 2 of their 3 shops. Absurd cases have real victims. So remember the rat lawyer of Autun, a system that grants a hearing to rats, corpses, and pants must hear everyone. That is the bargain. The occasional circus is the price of a door that opens for a burned grandmother nobody believed. The strangest thing courts have ever judged is not a corpse or a ghost. Next time, the trial that decided who owns the moon.